Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division with various type of win for the Sequoia Creek and the Redwood Cup Tournament here in Golf Clash the Game. The video is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. And make sure that you don't forget to subscribe here to the YouTube channel and also visit golfclashtommy.com for more Golf Clash related content for free. You can get the best guides on the market and our summer special on Patreon. Link to patreon.com/golfclashtommy can be found in the beginning of the video description down below. This is going to be a tougher tournament in my opinion. I've been going through these holes so much. It feels like already this early. And I will provide you with some double options for hole number 1, hole number 5, hole number 3 at least is what, and also hole number 4. So, to give you some different type of ideas, different thoughts, because these are new holes. And obviously, it's gonna take some time before we are super duper dialed in. Make sure that you comment with whatever question you might have in the comment section below. Or email support@golfclashtommy.com. Don't forget to hit thumbs up as well. If we can get this one up to 100 likes, that would be amazing. So don't forget to hit those thumbs up. Follow the info box on the right hand side to get the elevation adjustment that I will play with. And also what type of ball and club that I do feel is going to be beneficial to play with as well. Have in mind that elevation is a floating number. So just because I play with one number, you might play with a different one. Doesn't mean that any of us are wrong. It's just that we mean that we build our adjustment in two different ways. So don't be worried just because it's different. But if you want to follow the shots that I'm taking here, then listen to what I'm explaining and also follow the information in the info box to the right. Enough talking about that, and let's go to hole number 1. So you will see two options, and first and foremost we're gonna go on the right side and then we're gonna go on the left. So yeah, bear with me. So first we go on the left side, use the driver that do give you power and also topspin. And here I will go with the extra mile due to a headwind. If you do have a cross, like a direct crosswind or a tailwind, the rock wouldn't be a bad club to use in a situation like this. But once we do have headwind, we do want to have distance or like power on our clubs, so we do not have to over adjust or like overpower it that much. 20% over adjustment, maximum distance numbers, and I'm using as much topspin possible because I'm looking to get into short iron range and play with the Hornet. Yes, I'm not gonna play with a Thorn. And that might sound weird for those of you that has been following me for a while. Know that I love the Thorn more than what I do with the Hornet. But the problem with the Thorn is that we do not have that much topspin, because I'm kind of counting with the fact that sometimes we will be so close to the green that the amount of topspin on the Thorn won't be enough to get there. Now obviously with this type of distance we have now with the Hornet, then obviously we would be able to play with the Thorn as well. So you kind of can design the shot so you reach with the Thorn also. One thing to think about here for this rough bump is that you need to leave the ball guideline to go through the hole if you do have a headwind. Likely to be approximately 1 to 1.5 green square through the hole, so you don't fall short like I did, because that sucks big time. If you do have a crosswind ball guideline slightly through the hole, approximately half a green square. If you do have a tailwind ball guide to the hole, 10% over adjustment. Judge your distance based on your distance towards the pin. Very, very important. If you do go short on the drive, you will potentially get yourself into long iron range instead. That's also if you do play with a less power ball. You maybe play with a power 1, power 2 to get yourself more wind resistance. Then you might get yourself into long iron range, and then the Grizzly or the B52 with a good ball guideline is going to be the best. For the next option, now we're going to play over to the left hand side, and here you have a decision to make with your driver. Yes, you can go directly over the rough and sand and use that skinny little fairway to have your first bounce, or you bounce over like we are doing here now. I do personally feel that bouncing over the rough and the sand will be more consistent for you, as especially when you do have headwind, you're going to have to go with overpower if you're going to have your first bounce above where we now have our second bounce. 20% over adjustment, and we'll play medium distance numbers as we are not in maximum distance of our club. As much top spin possible. I also want us to add as much left spin possible to try to move our target as much to the right possible. It's very important to me that we do that, otherwise we will risk the rough. Second shot is going to be with the Hornet once again, and here we are going to have a position where a lot of topspin is going to be very beneficial. And Thorn in a lower level will not be having this amount of topspin. It's only in level 8, level 9 you're gonna get a decent amount of topspin. And I personally like the rough bump because it takes away the second bounce. It kind of goes directly from, you know, a first bounce into a very, very minor second bounce and then roll towards the pin. Obviously, we need to judge the distance better than what we're doing here. And once again, when we do have a headwind, we do need to make the ball guideline go through the hole, not having it as we'd have now to the hole, because you can see we are, you know, on the left edge though, but we should be needed to get that one through the hole to get there. 10% over adjustment is what I go on, and honestly, my way of going and the way that I will try to go is gonna go left. And the reason for that is then this hole becomes a linear hole. And a linear hole, then you can dial that one in with yardage to notes much easier. And I do believe in the end, once coming to opening round and weekend round in tournament, and also when this hole has been on tour 9 for a while, or in tour play generally, then we will see the left side option to be superior to the right side option, just because you can dial it in based on the hole being linear playing on the left. So let's take a look at hole number 2, and here I'm going to actually not go for the rough bump, not yet at least. 2 bars of side spin to the right, and here I'm using 2 bars of top spin. I'm using a very low level club here, and obviously we would like to play with the sniper if we could choose. I'm looking for the second bounce to be approximately 2 rings from the rough line, with the ball guideline pointing towards the pin. We will be adjusting pretty far back with our rings, and therefore, you know, we're using topspin. This because we do need to have the speed when the ball gets to green. I would highly though recommend to use 2.5 bar topspin in tailwind and back up a little bit with that. Again, you know, the thing that decides where to put our target is actually the second bounce, because if we're gonna add 2.5 bar topspin to the position we have now, then we're gonna have the first bounce that is too long and we will clip the rough. Medium distance with a 20% over adjustment, and that goes the same when it comes to the sniper, because sniper is the club to go with here, because we do want to have the best possible ball guideline and the best possible accuracy to that as well. You may be wondering, why do I not go for the rough bump? It's because I think the rough bump is so wind angle dependent. And the reason I think that is because if we do have a wind angle that in some sort is coming, you know, a direct crosswind left to right, or any form of headwind coming left to right, or direct headwind, then the rough bump is gonna be definitely a possible way to play. But as soon as we're gonna have any form of tailwind or right to left type of wind, then we're gonna adjust from a lower to a higher point. And then we're going to have to pull back all from 1 to 3 rings, depending on how far back we're going to adjust. And that's why I'm not just want to give you a way here that I don't really fully believe in. That's why we're gonna have to wait. We're gonna have to dial that one in based on obviously tournament, but also once played it enough in tournament play and tour play in shootout. 20% over adjustment is what I would go with, at least with the rough bump as well. But in the end, there we do have hole number 2, a nice route, a little bit more topspin though, then the hole in 1 will be close. So let's start off by taking a look at the drive. Here we do need a club with first and foremost distance, meaning power. And we're going to get our ball down to the fairway as close to the rough possible. Please don't be fooled by the open fairway on the left, because going to the open fairway on the left will be putting you into a situation where we will have a longer distance towards the pin for the second shot, which is going to be very, very difficult. Here we do have a crosswind. I'm gonna in crosswind use around 4 bars of topspin. It kind of all depends on what type of crosswind angle you're having. And as I said again, 20% over adjustment, and we're using maximum distance numbers. And once again, the closer we get to the rough line, the better it's going to be. Those of you being able to play with a power 4 or even a power 5 ball with wind resistance 3 minimum will have an advantage here in this hole, because that will make the second shot much easier. Now I'm using, in this case, 5.5 bar top spin, 1 bar left spin. And my plan here is to aim for the middle of the rough with my second bounce, because I do want my ball to bounce on the fairway into the rough, roll down towards the pin. I'm not expecting an albatross here in any form, but I do expect myself to have an eagle here every single time. And you never know, you know, if you get the angle correct there towards the pin, you might gonna see yourself dropping an albatross or two, but the luck has to be involved there as a massive factor for the second shot. No elevation is what I do for the second shot, but as always with elevation, it's a floating number. If your adjustment plays better with a different elevation, use that. But following the second shot to bounce into the rough, no elevation is the play here for hole number 3. For option number 2 here on hole number 3, we're gonna go aggressive, very, very aggressive. And here I would strongly advise you to not play this shot if you not have at least 6 bars of topspin and a club that is 236 yards or more, meaning extra mile level 8 or Apocalypse 8 plus or Apocalypse level 5 plus. And Apocalypse obviously would be the best one of them all, because we do want to have as much topspin and as much power as possible. Adjustment, maximum distance with a 20% over adjustment, and here it's good that the trees are transparent when we do adjust, so the trees aren't in our way when we are adjusting. Maximum distance with a 20% over adjustment, as I said. Push up your club into max over power and try to hit perfect. Now we do hit great, and you can see that we still have room for that, and we fly over that piece of rough. Obviously this is an Apocalypse level 8, and therefore you have more topspin with that as well. But no matter what though, if you reach over there, you will get yourself into a long iron position. Here I'm first looking for if there is any consistent spot for the rough bump, but it does seem to get myself to find any consistent spot, and it kind of glitch around there on the rough no matter where I am. So I decide to just go with a normal shot, using a little backspin, a little side spin, ball guideline to the hole. And here I do play 13 rings, which is approximately 65% club with 20% over adjustment with the B52 level 8. Obviously now you can see I play with higher level clubs, and obviously the approach shot doesn't need to be higher level clubs to be able to do well. But in my opinion, if we do have a wind, like a tailwind, that allows us to go over the water and the rough, then I would strongly advise you to do so, because then you will get an opportunity for an albatross. If we do play the more safe route, then we are playing that purely to get an eagle, and that's at least in my opinion. Berserker ball, very valuable. We have plenty of different power 4 with less wind resistance, or power 5 as well with, you know, higher wind resistance that we can use. So you know, use the best ball that suits your bag, and then just full blast and let's go with it. Here you will see 2 options, and we are going to start with a sniper bounce over bunker option, as I like to call it. Here we will play with medium distance with a 30% over adjustment, as we are in medium distance club. Half a bar of topspin, and I'm going to use 2 bars of side spin to the left. You can see that I'm aiming directly at the hole, but once we do have, you know, the crosswind coming left to right, I do decide to offset the ball guideline approximately 1 green square to the left. So half a bar of topspin, 2 bars of side spin to the left. And then we offset approximately 1 green square to the left of the pin. Now I do adjust for almost medium distance with a 30% over adjustment. I do unfortunately go with 1 decimal less, and I do think that decimal is definitely what makes us miss this hole here with very, very little. For those of you that do want to simplify and reduce the elevation, you can play maximum distance with a 15% elevation and also add 0.1. then you will get the same as you have medium distance with a 30% over adjustment. I would recommend a kingmaker to reduce the wind, but at least having a side spin 2 ball is a must. A wind 5 ball for that approach is not wrong at all. The second option is going to be, I would say, a more safe option when it comes to we take away the risk of getting into the front bunker, left bunker, like we are basically going to have the first bounce on the fairway. Sure, we can go directly into the bunker, but honestly, then we will have to suit ourselves. I'm using 5 bars of backspin, 1.2 bars of left spin, or sorry, 1.5 bar of left spin, having a pretty severe wind coming right to left here with a quasar. Adjustment, maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment. You can see we're playing a different elevation when we're playing further up here, so max plus 10. This because this elevation suits this adjustment a bit better than the one behind there. Ball guideline, or like the ball gets down towards the pin, and we're using in that case a little bit too much left spin, so we need to reduce and play that 1 bar of left spin instead. But honestly, I would strongly recommend you to play with the first type of option. I think that's going to generally be the one that gives us the most hole-in-one. But if you're playing this hole in tour play, I would honestly like you to take a look at the other option as well, which could help you tremendously to just use backspin and just land it nicely with control on the green if you do have a very, very strong wind. So up to you, obviously, but for my vote, I vote for option number 1. So let's start off with the drive, and if we do have a headwind, we are going to have to play on the left side of the first tree. You're gonna see there. That's the place to play, and I would really recommend you to play with a driver that gives you a decent amount of power if we do have a headwind, so we don't have to overpower, because that would be obviously extremely unnecessary. 3 bars of topspin, 3 bars of side spin to the right, and I'm using a katana here. You can in any way, you know, use a kingmaker or a different type of ball if you want to, but I like to have the side spin 3 to really kick myself into the right there, so I do prevent myself from going into the rough on the left, and also that I will be able to play with a bit more topspin than I normally would. If we do have a tailwind, we're going to take that one again. If you look in between the trees that is in the center and on the right, we can play in between those type of trees, and then we can bounce our ball up into a short iron range. You can also use the tailwind and curl around the tree pretty massively on the left and go that way also. There is multiple options to go with. There is also a power hook possibility here, but we will see what type of wind we're going to have when we play it, how we are going to adapt. No matter what though, we're going to find ourselves in either long iron or short iron range. I like to play on the left side here, as I do believe there is some type of funnel slash sticky spot that I do want to play. Have in mind that you do want to get the ball guideline a little bit short, as especially if you do have a little bit of tailwind as we are having now, then we adjust from a lower point to a higher point. And that's the same when it comes to headwind. You want the ball guideline to go through the hole, because then you adjust from a higher point to a lower point, and therefore you're going to, in that case, lose distance in headwind, and you're going to gain distance in tailwind. We're coming in nicely here. Unfortunately, we have a great left, but the problem is though, with a great left, we bounce further up to the left, which means that we're going to push more right. So by my estimation, that adjustment was good if we did hit perfect, but who knows? In the end though, it was close, and I do believe that the second shot here is a very good opportunity for us to make an eagle. Grizzly, B52, any other long iron that gives you a good ball guideline is the one to choose before clubs like Goliath, for an example. If you do get into short iron range, you use the short iron that you feel the most comfortable with. 10% over adjustment, and you use the club range that you do have. So if you are in maximum distance, then you use maximum distance numbers, and so forth. Here for hole number 5, we're looking for an aggressive option, because frankly this should be possible to get to green. So I'm using an extra mile here to demonstrate that you don't have to have an Apocalypse level 5 plus to get there. So an extra mile is going to be the ball. I would recommend, however, to use that power 4 ball if possible, but I do think that the more value lies in side spin. So a side spin 3 is absolutely brilliant. If we do have a wind coming left to right, an extra mile level 8 is sufficient and it's possible to use. This because the curl with the extra mile is very limited, and therefore, you know, the wind needs to come left to right for this to be an option. Maximum top spin and as much side spin to the right possible. We adjust maximum distance, no elevation whatsoever. We push up our targeting to max, then we go with max overpower and max curl to the right, meaning max curl when it comes to the extra mile. If you do have a more straight tailwind or the wind coming a little bit right to left and you still want to attempt that shot, then you need to have a club like the Apocalypse, like an Apocalypse level 3 plus at least, and you will have to go with approximately two ball of curl to the right to be able to stay away from the rough on the left. Still maximum distance, no elevation. And once again, you know, a power 4 or a power 3 ball with side spin 3 is the best ball to play with. Second shot is gonna be severely downhill. You're gonna notice how much this ball is being affected even with as low as 4.3 in wind. Here I do judge this as 20% over adjustment, but I'm not ruling out that we might need to add more if the wind is going to be stronger. Because if the wind is stronger and we play severely downhill, the ball is going to be affected more than normal as well. I do adjust with my my Endbringer level 5, and here you use the wedge that you feel the most comfortable with. But obviously, look how high that one went up into the air, and we could obviously adjust a ring or two and still be getting that one in the hole. So a wedge shot towards the pin compared to having a long iron shot towards the pin, I will take the wedge all day and every day. And obviously, if we are having the club with a little bit more topspin, or maybe have a little bit more curl, then we should be able to see ourselves getting to green as well in one, and then we're gonna have a simple pot for an eagle. But then we do have it a more safe approach for hole 5. We also have a more aggressive approach here for hole 5 as well. So let's take a look at the drive, and here we're gonna go straight up to the left. The only reason we would go to the right would be if we do have a tailwind. More of that in just a bit. So playing with a power 3 or a power 4 ball with wind 3 and minimum side spin 2 is what I want you to do here. And the reason I want you to do that is because we do want to have at least the power 3 distance for the second shot. Not so much for the drive, that we can cope with anyway. 4.5 bar topspin, and then we're gonna go max overpower when we do have a headwind with an extra mile level 5. So this is a very low level account. Have in mind as well that if you do play with a club that do have more topspin and also have more distance, you might not have to go with max overpower even in headwind, but you will have to be prepared on that overpower will be needed in headwind at least a little bit. If a crosswind or a tailwind, we don't need any overpower. And to just mention when it comes to tailwind, if we do have a tailwind, then we can, now I'm thinking more or less a straight tailwind, then we can reach over directly to the fairway on the right, bounce on that over to the next fairway. We can take the drive just quickly and pay close attention to the right hand side of the screen. You see on the top right, you see that fairway there. That one is the one to bounce on over to the other fairway. That one obviously is going to be difficult as we have to curl it around the tree a little bit, especially if the wind angle coming, you know, right to left. But it would be a possibility, but that with tailwind and a power 5 ball. If you get into the rough there, you will most likely be dead in that tailwind situation. But if you reach over to the other fairway, you actually have an open shot towards the green, and then you actually will have a little bit of an albatross attempt. Now, for the second shot here, going based on the drive we did before, I'm using 4 bars of topspin. Here you can use more, you should use 4 to 6 bars of topspin and not more than that. You do want the ball to just bounce over the rough and roll down towards the fringe area. If we get to green, fine, we get to green. If we don't, we don't. Adjustment is going to be maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment, and we are going to apply a lot of curl. Here you can see we go with a little bit more than 2 balls of curl, and those of you playing with curl that is more than the Cataclysm level 2, please have that in mind that if you use too much curl, you will put the bunker in play there on the right. Getting ourselves down there by the fringe and the green, is going to make that wedge super duper simple, and we're going to make ourselves a nice eagle on this very tough par 5. You will, especially in crosswind and headwind, see many players struggling making an eagle here on this par 5, especially when you can't really aim for the pin, as you have to use that curl shot as just shown as the second shot. Power 4 ball if there is if you have them, otherwise minimum a kingmaker in my opinion. So let's take a look at hole number 7, and first and foremost the drive. If we do not have a tailwind, like I would say more tailwind than we do have crosswind, we're going to have to play on the fairway before the rough. And the reason we're playing on the right side, even though we're going to have to apply curl, is because we do want to play with yardage notes in a much better way than we can do on the left hand side. So playing on the right is the way that we're gonna go, and now we're aiming in medium distance of our club with our Apocalypse level 5. And obviously as we are in medium distance, the club doesn't really matter, but the topspin does. So the more topspin you can have, the better it's going to be. And now with the new side spin rule, that you can actually use more side spin together with the topspin, side spin 3 ball is going to be very, very valuable. Half a ball of curl to the right, and then we're going to bounce on the fairway, getting it over to the other fairway, and we're going to leave ourselves up into short iron range or long iron range. Before we go to the second shot, I wanted to just touch base about the Berserker route. If we do have a straight tailwind, we can technically reach very close to green or to the green, or even so, you know, just lay up and just go with a short iron instead. But if we do have a straight tailwind, I do think we will be going for it, especially in a tournament situation, where in tour play situation it might not be that beneficial, as then you will have much higher wind in the shootout. 20% over adjustment for the drive, no matter what type of way you're playing with a drive. Second shot, you can see that we are very close to a minimum distance of our Grizzly, and the Grizzly is the club that I want you to play with. Why? Ball guideline. The ball guideline is massive here, as using a good ball guideline will help you being able to aim directly at the pin. If we do get the drive a little bit longer, which will most likely be for Apocalypse level 6+, or those people playing with a Thor's Hammer with more topspin, then you will see yourself playing with a short iron in close to maximum distance. Unfortunately a great right, but with a perfect here, you know, I'm not going to rule out that this one would have dropped, but easy to say now afterwards. So in the end, it's either going to be a long iron in close to minimum distance, or it's going to be a short iron in close to maximum distance. You will have to obviously adapt depending on how far you're going with your drive. Note down yardage notes and try to dial it in that way. I do believe that in a tournament situation, hole number 7 here is going to be almost a must eagle, or at least going to be the one that gives us the best opportunity together with hole number 1. So let's take a look at hole number 8, and I would say that this is a very interesting designed hole, in my opinion. Here, the sniper is super duper valuable. We do want to have the ball guideline. We also need to ensure that the ball guideline is going slightly short of pin. Here you can see that I'm actually having a ball guideline going, yeah, you know, long. It's pretty easy to say here in this example. I like the spot that I'm having though with the blue ring by the rough line, because that's a more consistent spot. Because if you move your bullseye more to the center, you're gonna see the ball guideline flicker like back and forth, because that's a consistent spot, or like inconsistent spot. I'm using 25% over adjustment, and I'm playing very close to maximum distance, and therefore I will then play maximum distance with a 25% over adjustment. I, however, would like us to obviously use more backspin here. I would like us to use backspin, so the ball guideline going to the hole, not through the hole. And if to be even more picky, to be slightly before the hole, approximately 1 green square before the pin starts. 1 bar of left spin is not bad at all either, but the more important part is that the ball guideline to the hole, ladies and gentlemen. Kingmaker or Katana here, a wind 5 or 4 ball wouldn't be bad either. Sniper, key club due to the ball guideline, otherwise we will struggle massively. Make sure you don't come in way too hot, and you will roll into the bunker on the back, and then you will risk not getting the birdie either. Tough par 3 in my opinion here for the Sequoia Creed. So let's take a look at the drive, and here the quarterback or an apocalypse would be the best type of clubs here, because we will want to play with a lot of curl. Side spin, use 3 bars of side spin is maximum with a side spin 3 ball, and I'm also in the end going to decide to go with 2 bars of top spin. The thing that we're looking for is to get the ball to go as far to the left side possible. Okay, red ring by the rough line. You can see that the second bounce is just inside the fairway there on the other side. We're going to adjust for medium distance with a 10% over adjustment when it comes to the apocalypse. If you do play with a quarterback, you are going to play with maximum distance and with a 10% over adjustment instead. And the reason I do talk about both the quarterback and the apocalypse is due to both of them have a tremendous amount of curl and will get the ball over to the left. So if we do have a wind where the quarterback is sufficient, then that's the club to play with. Otherwise we go with apocalypse. Now for the second shot, you can see that if we do have a tailwind, we would have been able to attempt a rough bump. But once we do have a headwind, we do have to bounce on the fairway over the rough towards the pin. And whatever time we're gonna have to do this type of shot, we're gonna see ourselves, you know, having the eagle basically every time, but we're not gonna see ourselves getting an albatross. 10% over adjustment for the second shot as well, and obviously play based on your club distance. If you are in maximum distance, you play maximum distance and so forth. 2 to 3 bars of topspin. I would recommend 3 bars in headwind, because here we're using 2 and you can see that we're going slightly short. A little bit more side spin to the right as well, but it's very difficult to get the ball guideline in the way we want when we play from such far away. This is, once again, no albatross hole in my opinion. Take the eagle and make it as easy as possible. A big reason why we're not playing up to the right, it's because the second shot is going to be absolutely terrible. Because the fairway slopes left to right, and then we're going to have to go with a lot of curl to compensate for that, which means that we cannot aim directly for the pin. So therefore, playing over to the left using a driver with curl is the best play to play hole number 9. Thank you everybody for watching this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division here for the Sequoia Creek and the Redwood Cup Tournament in Golf Clash the game. Make sure that you don't forget to hit thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and also get our summer special on Patreon. Link is directly in the description down below. A massive thank you for you that you are watching and for your support. Thank you, and good luck in your Golf Clash game.